flags. Spoilers.
Before watching the video, can you please save a little bit time, like and subscribe to SkypluS Top Mover to increase?
On July 13, 2009, Southwest Airlines Flight 2294 was scheduled from Nashville International Airport to Baltimore/Washington International Airport. The aircraft flight, which suffered a rapid depressurization of the passenger cabin. The aircraft made an emergency landing at Yeager Airport in Charleston, West Virginia. The aircraft involved was a Boeing 737-3H4, registration N387SW, serial number 26602. The aircraft was delivered to Southwest Airlines in June 1994, and at the time of the accident flight, had accumulated approximately 42,500 takeoff/landing cycles and 50,500 airframe hours. 126 passengers and 5 crew members were on board. The captain had accumulated 22,500 total flight hours, 19,300 hours of which were in the 737. He held an airline transport pilot, ADP, certificate and a Class 1 medical certificate with a limitation/waiver for corrective lenses. The first officer had accumulated 10,100 total flight hours, 2,240 hours of which were in the 737. He held an ADP certificate and a Class 2 medical certificate with no limitations/waivers. The aircraft took off from Nashville at 4:05 p.m. Central Daylight Time, 5:05 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, and climbed for about 25 minutes, leveling off at a cruising altitude of approximately 35,000 feet. At about 5:45 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, the aircraft experienced a rapid decompression event, causing the cabin altitude warning to be activated in the cockpit, indicating a dangerous drop in cabin pressure. Passenger oxygen masks deployed automatically. The aircraft systems disengaged the autopilot, and the captain began an emergency descent to bring the aircraft down into denser air to prevent passenger hypoxia. The cabin altitude alarm ceased as the aircraft passed through about 9,000 feet. The flight crew declared an emergency and landed the aircraft safely at Yeager Airport in Kanawha County, West Virginia, near Charleston, with no fatalities or major injuries to passengers and crew. After landing, the aircraft was found to have a 3-sided hole in the fuselage, 17.4 inches long, and between 8.6 to 11.5 inches wide, forward of the leading edge of the vertical stabilizer, at the rear end of the aircraft. The accident was investigated by the Federal Aviation Administration, FAA, and the National Transportation Safety Board, NTSB. NTSB review of the cockpit voice recorder records and post-incident interviews showed that the flight crew acted appropriately in response to the emergency. The NTSB investigation found that the incident was caused by a metal fatigue crack in the fuselage skin. Highly magnified inspections found that a long metal fatigue crack had developed at the boundary of 2 different manufacturing processes used by Boeing in creating the fuselage crown skin assembly. Boeing finite element modeling had suggested that stress forces in this boundary region are higher due to differences in stiffness, indicating that a failure was more likely to occur in this area after a certain number of pressurization-depressurization cycles. Following this incident, on September 3, 2009, Boeing issued a service bulletin calling for repetitive external inspections to detect any cracks in this more vulnerable area of the fuselage skin. The FAA then followed up by issuing an airworthiness directive on January 12, 2010, mandating these inspection requirements. Earlier criticism of the carrier's lax maintenance and inspection practices, for which the airline had been fined $7.5 million in 2008. On April 1, 2011, less than 2 years later, a similar incident occurred on Southwest Airlines Flight 812, involving another Southwest Airlines Boeing 737-3H4. In response to the second incident, the FAA issued an airworthiness directive requiring more frequent inspections by all airlines operating Boeing 737 classic aircraft.
Thank you for watching the video. If you have idea of a blank, please comment below